Hey there, Internet. Welcome back to What's the Points? I'm Mike. Today, let's do a Chase Sapphire Reserve Beyond the Numbers discussion. What I would like to invite you, dear audience, to look at this Chase Sapphire Reserve card and think about how it might fit into your setup and why or why not. So I wanted to talk about why it fits into mine and see if that resonates with all of you. I want to invite you to look beyond the numbers. So what do I mean by that? I want you to be able to take a step back and look at your whole setup, look at your travel needs, and figure out if it's a common sense addition to your setup. What I'm getting at is that breaking even is not enough. Basically, the discussion I see most often is comparing the Sapphire Reserve to the American Express Platinum. And it's a good comparison for a lot of reasons. If you do it strictly by the numbers, and if you assume that you're someone who's willing to juggle lots of credits, I think it's very easy on paper to show that the Amex Platinum, probably for most advanced users, is going to yield more quote-unquote total benefit, total economic reward, let's say, if you maximize all of your credits. And what I'm getting at here is that, in my opinion, actually, the Sapphire Reserve is undervalued compared to the Platinum in the sense that it is a little bit simpler, I think. Not only to get the value out of the annual fee, but also in terms of how you use ultimate rewards. I'll give two examples that are huge, and I think everyone really needs to seriously consider. So the two examples here, first, ultimate rewards on Chase can be cashed out at 1 cent per point. Easy. Amex, not so much. It's 0.6 cents, at least with the Platinum card and with most membership rewards earning cards. For the most part, to get decent value, you have to plan on transferring to international partners, and that already makes it a more advanced type of process, especially for domestic redemptions. And so to underscore this point, this is why, point two about the big advantage of Chase Ultimate Rewards points versus Amex MR points is that you can either get a 1.5 times boost. In other words, a 50% boost when you use your ultimate rewards to book travel through the Chase Travel Portal. So that effectively is guaranteeing you a floor of 1.5 cents per point. So for domestic travel, that's excellent because, as is widely agreed upon, it's pretty rare to be able to beat that for almost any kind of domestic travel redemption. So especially for airfare, that's a slam dunk way. But so those are two big advantages with Chase, and you, depending on the frequency of travel, ensuring that you can get that floor, so 1.5 cent per point, is huge. And now the third point is Hyatt. Hyatt hotels are a really great way to get value from your ultimate rewards points, and are still the only bank currency if you discount Bilt points, which is, even though it's Wells Fargo, Bilt itself is a fintech company, and, earning Bilt points is not as easy as Chase points, especially if you open Chase Inc. business cards are always a fantastic way to get ultimate rewards points. And particularly if you don't have the Chase Inc. Preferred card, then you have to have a Sapphire, one of the two Chase Sapphire cards. And because the Chase Sapphire Preferred is really not a great card, the only reason you would have that is to take advantage of a bigger sign-up bonus. Oftentimes, for inexplicable reasons, Chase is offering a higher sign-up bonus for that one versus the Reserve. And then after a year, you can upgrade your card to a Reserve from a Preferred. So for me, because I travel frequently, I do a lot of domestic travel. I stay at Hyatt's. I don't usually cash out UR points at 1 cent because It's nice to know I could do that in an emergency, but because they're hard for me to get, especially right now because I'm over the Chase 524 rule, I'm doing all I can to earn those Chase points. And so now honorable mention to the 10 times points that you earn, the 10x points through either Lyft or through booking hotels through the Chase travel portal. Now, sometimes I do see either boutique hotels or even sometimes brand name hotels where the price is the same or sometimes even less than it is direct. Now, you don't get elite earning, but sometimes it's worth it. Like there's a local Hilton near me, which sometimes is less through the Chase portal. So I can get this 10x, and if I value UR points conservatively at 2 cents per point, that's pretty great. That's basically 20% back. That's huge. I think even with the Hilton Aspire gets 14x back in Hilton points. But Hilton points are worth half a penny each, and you can frequently buy them. You can't buy Chase Ultimate Rewards points. So 14x is really 7% back. Now you got to factor in the fact that you're not going to get elite credit or the base earning. So actually, with Hilton, it probably would be comparable actually if you add that in, because it's not just the credit card, it's the base earning that you'll get when you book directly through the hotels. And I still don't understand why airlines allow you to do this. They allow you to book through a third party. I know AA tried to walk that back, and they got slammed for that. They finally walked that back and said, "Psych, we're not going to remove that ability to book through third parties and still get miles and credit towards elite status." But none of the hotels do, and I don't really understand why. Hotels have a lot less of a monopoly, so I don't get it. Like, why do airlines give you that when hotels don't? Airlines are more likely to have a monopoly. There's fewer players, and especially on certain routes, there's just not as much competition. When you go to most towns, even small towns, you generally have a selection of a lot of places to stay. So, I don't understand why the competition factor wouldn't have made it more likely for hotels to open up their rooms some more and get them filled by Expedia or other third parties. So I don't know. But with Chase, especially with the Sapphire Reserve, now you're getting 10x versus 5x on the hotel versus their other cards. And so if you really need to rack up Ultimate Rewards points, particularly if there's some fancy Hyatts you want to stay at, that's a fantastic way to do it. The Lyft Pink benefit, is especially valuable if you have Lyft bikes near you. The Lyft e-bikes are great, and it's nice to just be able to drop it at a station and go walk around where you want and not have to lock up your expensive bike, worry about maintenance and all that stuff. And they're burly, they have big tires and they roll over obstacles and bumps pretty well. And, it's been nice. Granted, I'm in a city where it's nice to have that option. But even if you don't, even if you're just occasionally taking Lyft, getting that 10x back is a huge rebate. And especially if you don't have an Uber One membership, what I find is, I always will compare the price on both. And for the most part, with Lyft Pink, you're not getting discounts on rides as much as you used to with that program, but you do get supposedly free priority pickup, particularly for airports. And again, 10x, it's huge, and I'm kind of surprised I don't hear more people talk about that. If you need a card that has benefits and drives earning, it's hard to find a combination as good as this. Most cards tend to be strong with one versus the other. The American Express Platinum, is notorious for really only being used for flights and otherwise being a sock drawer card. But the Sapphire Reserve, you 3x on all travel, all different kinds of travel, very broadly applicable, which is huge. And the 3x on dining is typical but reliable. So between that and these other ways to earn, having more of a selection of categories makes it less dependent on having companion cards with it. There is the trifecta, and it's up to you if you want to use that. I mean, it's the disadvantage is that they don't have any cards that earn a flat 2%, so that is a bit of a weakness. But really, if when you add it all up in terms of cards that have sign up bonuses and how often you open them, even if you don't go through them that fast, you're going to earn so much, let's say with one of those Chase Ink cards, that you don't have to worry about multipliers as much, and so you can find a good balance with having a card that's a good daily driver for earner and is useful in most travel situations if you're traveling at least a few times a year. And now that they've added these additional lounge access, sure, you're not getting the Centurion Lounge, but I'm traveling with a player too. I don't think it's worth it for me to pay the authorized user fee really on any of the cards that I have. And so with the everyone talks about how the Platinum has superior lounge access to the Sapphire Reserve, and I suppose so. I mean, if you're including Centurion, but then that's only presuming that you're willing to pay the $50 guest fee. I'm not, and our travel patterns aren't such that it makes sense that we're that dependent on Centurion lounges or Delta Sky Club, even though those are nice too, to pay the fees and costs associated with that. And so therefore, the Sapphire Reserve gets me sufficient level of lounge access. Adding these Maple Leaf lounges, opening Sapphire lounges, and getting really solid travel protections, and let's face it, a Visa card instead of an Amex card, so you can use it everywhere. If you're only going to carry one in your wallet, it's hard for me in almost any case, given all of that, unless you're someone who regularly does lots of international travel on expert mode with partner bookings. But yeah, that's my opinion, that look beyond the numbers, because you want to think about how you're going to have a card that best fits your lifestyle and earns you the type of currency on its own and with partnership, in concert with the other cards in your setup. For example, for me, I do carry several Amex cards, and I do use those for partner airline bookings. And so I therefore try to use my ultimate rewards pretty much exclusively on Hyatt. There was one time last year where I transferred some points. Actually, that was earlier this year. There was a 20% transfer bonus to KLM, and I flew to Amsterdam. That ticket price nonstop from San Francisco to Amsterdam was 50,000 KLM flying blue miles, but because of this 20% transfer bonus, that meant it was only 40,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points. And even still in my setup right now, I'm really lopsided with MR points versus Chase points, and so I would almost sacrifice that in some cases. Right now I think it's actually arguably easier to earn. I see more different ways of earning sign-up bonuses. For example, upgrading and downgrading cards and getting those upgrade offers through Amex is really nice, and not having to open new cards. If you're like me, I would suggest that you look beyond the numbers of, I'm losing $50 a year or I'm making $50 a year when you're considering a high-powered card like this, a card that you're opening ideally is something that you're planning to keep as a keeper card. And of course, you don't have to. And that's one of the other nice things about this card, to, once again, kind of beat on the Amex Platinum. That one you can't downgrade to a no annual fee card. This one you can, or at least the Sapphire Preferred. So you really can change it to any of the Chase branded products in the personal card lineup, which is great. None of this business between, is it a credit card or a charge card, like on the Amex side. So if you look beyond that, you want to see, well, is this high-powered card going to help me do what I want to do with travel and earning and opening up your possibilities, and look at it in the big picture. Look at it holistically, besides just the dollars and cents. Of course, do that. I'm just suggesting don't get hung up on that, because there's a lot more to this than just, am I breaking even or not? Because the goal is to more than break even. And honestly, the difference between I'm coming out ahead $25 versus I'm behind by $50, is peanuts compared to a year worth of travel and all of the time and planning and energy and money and other things that we put into that. Despite it might seeming free from these rewards and rebates that we're getting from cards. If travel is an important part of your general lifestyle, then having a premium travel credit card these days, in my opinion, is essential. And you want a card, at least one, that will give you the types of insurances and protections, that will give you the flexibility of redemptions and the high quality, reliable earning. And no card really does it better, in my opinion. I mean, sure, there's the Capital One Venture X is the only one I haven't really mentioned here. But because that one is weak on domestic use, in my opinion, really the champion here is the Sapphire Reserve. So if you like what you saw, or if you dislike what you saw, leave a comment, like and subscribe. We are a young channel, and your like and subscribe tremendously helps us out. And I'm here to support the community and learn from you guys. So it was my pleasure to entertain and or annoy you. Take care.